Hello, welcome back to the channel. And we're now over halfway through the year. We're past the summer solstice, so the days are starting to get in shorter, but we've still got 2 months of summer ahead. So hopefully the solar stats will continue to look promising, even though the June stats were a little bit disappointing, especially compared to previous years and the previous months of this year. So it's time to look back at my June solar stats, how much I've saved, how much I've made, how my heat pump has been performing, and everything relevant to that. So before I go on, please make sure you hit the subscribe button, it massively helps out the channel. Okay, so just for if you're new to the channel, I live in Swansea and I have a 4.65 kilowatt array on my south facing roof, which goes down into a Solace 5 kilowatt inverter. I currently have a 5 kilowatt hour pure drive battery and a Daikin 9 kilowatt heat pump, which I've had for a couple of months now. And this is a 3-bedroom semi, and there's 2 of us living in the house. So let's just start off with the generation figure. So our generation for this month was 565 kilowatt hours. And as you can see from this graph, our actual generation per day has been quite low. There's been lots of days around the 14-15 kilowatt hour mark, and we'd really expect in June that to be up in the 20s. When we compare it to, say, our May generation, where we generated 711, and April, where we generated 655 kilowatt hours, you can see that June is significantly low for what's meant to be one of the better months. And that's just because in Swansea we had quite a dim June. It's been grey, it's been drizzly, there's been some days where it's been sunny, there's been some days where it's been very hot, which also then affects the output of the solar panels as well. So that's a little bit disappointing. And I might as well show you this graph now, which is our yearly generation. And you can see that this is since we had our solar panels fitted in August 2022, this is the worst June we've had, where in 2023 we had around 720 kilowatt hours generated. Last June we had 630, so 565 kilowatt hours is significantly down on that. However, when we compare it to our usage, things still work out okay. So if you've been watching my previous videos, since having the heat pump installed, we were having a few problems because the CT clamp was on the wrong cable. It was on the cable that was coming into the main part of the house, rather than before the split where the cable goes to the heat pump on the outside and into the house. So our inverter and actually our battery was not seeing the heat pump, therefore the battery wasn't powering the heat pump, because our usual strategy, being on Octopus Intelligent Go, means that we charge our battery during the night, and then if we need to use electricity during the day, if there isn't enough solar, we rely on the battery. It also means that if the heat pump was running, it wasn't running and there wasn't enough solar, it was running from the grid at the peak usage. However, halfway through the month I've had that changed, so that's now gone, that's now all working fine. But so these figures are a little bit skewed just because of that. Anyway, so the house consumption, so our electricity of just running the house, not the heat pump, and therefore not the hot water or the heating, even though we haven't had the heating on in June, was 213 kilowatt hours, which is a little bit more than our average, which is normally about 200 kilowatt hours. That's for a number of reasons, largely because we've removed our gas completely and we now have an induction hob. So that's probably accounting for that extra 13 kilowatt hours. So if we were to have paid the standard rate, which we could have got at this house with 25p per kilowatt hour, that would have cost us £53.10. So our heat pump this month has basically just been generating hot water, and our amount of hot water the amount of power energy needed to heat our hot water has been 97 kilowatt hours, so about 3 kilowatt hours a day. So if we were paying our gas price before we disconnected our gas, which was about 7p per kilowatt hour, that would have cost us £7.60. So if we add those two figures together, the £53 and the £7.60, we get £60.60. So that's how much our energy would have cost us. However, by using Intelligent Go and just topping up the battery overnight, and also powering the heat pump overnight to heat the hot water, in fact we only spent £12.80. So we imported 145 kilowatt hours, and about 12 of those were at peak time, so that's mainly just about 0.2 of a kilowatt hour per day when the inverter is pinging back to the grid to check connections, or we got sudden spikes. There were a few days where the heat pump had clicked on early because we used a lot of the hot water and it was kicking into heat, so a little bit of the peak was from that before we had the CT clamp moved. And another couple of kilowatt hours is because when charging the car, which I haven't included in these figures, but when I charged the car, I plugged it in and Octopus gave me a couple of hours extra at a lower rate before that, so I turned my inverter settings to charge the battery then, and instead of had half its 11, I set it to turn on charge the battery at 9:30, and then forgot to change that the next day, so I charged my battery at peak rate, which was a bit stupid, but yeah, lessons learned hopefully from that. Yeah, so our total energy bill for the month, excluding the standing charge, was £12.80, which means we had a total saving on our energy bill of £49.64. If we looked at how much energy the heat pump actually used, we used about 53 kilowatt hours, and if that was all at the 7p import a night, that would have cost us about, of that £12.80, that would have cost us about £3.71. So that was okay. On top of that, we also got an extra saving by not having a gas meter, because we had that removed, so that's saving us 30p a day, so that saved us another £9.43 for the month. And then finally we have the SEG, or export payment. So Octopus pays us 15p per kilowatt hour for every kilowatt hour we export, and this month we exported about, of that 564 we generated, we exported about 470, and that generated us £70.55. So if we include the savings on our energy, so the £49, savings on the gas meter of another £7.60, sorry, not £7.60, £9.43, and our payment of SEG, that means we've had a total payback this month on our sort of green tech of £120.18, which is more than we made in March, which was £116, but less than we made in April and May, which were £130 and £142 respectively. So a little bit down on that, and that's all shown in this graph here. But you can also see that our value compared to last June is also a bit lower as well. So, as I say, June wasn't a great month. Anyway, so looking at how this has added to our payback on our solar system, or on our total investment, if you're interested in that sort of thing, we paid about £8,500 for our solar system and battery, and then we've paid £220 for our heat pump installation, and admittedly £230 of that was for planning permission. So actually, if you can get around the planning rules, it would have cost you minus £10 if you had the same setup as us. The reason why that value is so low, and also why it's not the £320 I said last month, is because I've had somebody use my Octopus referral code again this month, which I take that amount off. So our total payback on our whole system to date, so our total savings, has been £2,303, which means we still got to pay back another £6,416 in total. But that's coming down, and it looks like it's going to take about another 8 years for that to happen. Maybe a bit lower, because as we're halfway through the month, or halfway through the year, yeah, the video stopped recording here, so I'm just going to fill in using this camera instead. So the value of the amount of money that I've saved this year has been about £650. So if we assume that the first half of the year is going to mirror the second half of the year, which of course with the weather might not be a good assumption at all, that means we can make a payback of this year of about £1,300, especially if we invest in some more batteries and we can make savings on the heating with the heat pump, which means that payback could, for that remaining £6,000, could be as little as 5 years, but then we'd also have to pay for the batteries as well. So I think that 8 years is realistic. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed and found it useful. Please comment below with your own solar figures for the month and your own experience, and I'll see you in another video very soon.